Hello everyone. Hope you have a great day, great evening, depending on your time zone, depending on the country where you're in. Nice to meet you all. Thanks for joining, and we're starting our webinar. And today the topic is really exciting personally for me, and based on the interest that we received from the audience, a significant interest and actually from the audience, we think that this topic is interesting for quite a lot of people. And specifically, we will talk about AI and how AI is currently transforming companies and transforming enterprises in particular, and what are the main trends that we can see on the market, and some emerging opportunities that likely be the case in the nearest future. And also, I'm really happy that I will be able to share some of the case studies that we recently had with AI and Gen AI as well at Pro recently in the last half a year. So let's get started. So a couple of words about me. I'm CTO at Pro. My name is Dmytro. Before Pro, I was machine learning lead at a company named Proxet. Also, I was ML lead at the company that develops one of the major media platforms, and that's one of the major players in the world that provides GIFs and short videos, and we've built quite a lot of different features that involve AI, like recommender systems, search engine based on multiple features provided by AI models. Also, we created quite a lot of computer vision models that allow to enrich the metadata for the content and provide better search results using the content library that the platform has. Also, I was chief technical officer in the Ukrainian tech startup, which is called Choisy. It received funding from Google 2 years ago, which I'm really happy about. I'm an active mentor of the platform that is called Projector Mentorship. It's a popular Ukrainian platform that allows to connect businesses with experts. And I did maybe more than 20 sessions last year with different businesses from industries like energy, healthcare, finance, and many others to guide them and to provide them a vision of how AI can be leveraged for their opportunities. Also, I'm lecturer and public speaker at multiple platforms and conferences, including one of the most popular Ukrainian conference called Framework Days. Also, I'm an active member of organization called AI House. It's a major AI community and network of AI experts that runs different workshops, courses, and many other formats in Ukraine and abroad as well. And also, in my free time, I'm really happy to help my friends, help people from my network to solve some of the AI challenges that they have in their work, in their personal routine, etc., etc. So I have a purely engineering related background, and hopefully this talk won't be really heavy in terms of technical aspects and engineering stuff. So I will try to make it as illustrative and visual as possible. But yeah, again, just for you to understand my context, I'm more a technical guy, and I really love doing small POCs, different demos, using various technologies just to see how different libraries, different tools can be applied for real tasks. So the agenda for today. So we will talk about the reason why I actually chose AI with respect to enterprise, and why I and many other people consider that the topic of AI in enterprise specifically is not fully covered, and there are quite a lot of things that can be done and that can leverage and boost the process of adoption of AI in enterprise segment. Of course, we'll mention the real value and the importance of data in AI projects, and we'll of course discuss the concepts like data-driven features, data-driven projects, and why it's actually the case that data really has a lot of impact and has critical value in terms of the development and functioning of AI products. For sure, considering the trend around Gen AI and everything that happens currently and that will happen in the nearest future based on different forecasts, we need to consider Gen AI. We need to highlight what's the current state and what are those additional components and additional value that we as professionals can add to the industry, and how we can leverage the products and the tools from this direction in the most optimal way. And then, just to make the talk more practical, I will describe some of the latest as pro case studies that we did using Gen AI. And yeah, it will be just a couple of examples of how Gen AI can really boost the value of the business and put it on the next level in terms of the usefulness and value for our clients. So let's do it. So I wanted to start with some of the key enterprise parameters and characteristics, why we define enterprise as some separate entity, a separate subject. So on the right of the screen, we can see a pyramid that is called like an enterprise pyramid, which consists of 4 levels. The top level is business, which is, as you understand, the critical part of every company, because this is the component in which the business strategy, all the objectives, vision, operations, and decision-making criteria are crafted, and that create a like business actionable core of the platform, of the system, that actually makes the difference, and that allows to distinguish the platform from other competitors. Then we have the data right beneath the business, right? And that's what represents the lifeblood of the business, lifeblood of the system, because that decision-making system that we defined in the business core needs some input arguments to produce outputs, to produce values for the business. And that's why we need data. That is why we can say that probably all the products are data-driven, just because without inputs, without users that provide those inputs, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make actually any sense to have those products up and running. So that's data. After that, we have application, and that's actually the sort of a functional workhorse, if I can call it like this. So it's like a software layer that implements all that logic and creates certain services, certain endpoints, or other interfaces that allow it to communicate with the system in the way. And right after application, we need to have a foundation in terms of infrastructure, technical services, solutions that support the software, that runs the software, and basically that's the overview of like enterprise and probably other companies as well. But it's typical situation, right, for the business to rely on decision-making engine, data, application, and infrastructure and deployment. So what differs enterprises is size and scale. So we know that many companies from the enterprise segment that they cover multiple regions. they scale to thousands, maybe tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of users. They usually have a very complex structure, including various departments, and those departments might have very sophisticated ways to communicate, exchange data with each other, to process information, to produce results. And that is why it's usually very sophisticated bureaucratic system where you need to very strictly define all the policies on how the data is exchanged, how you make decisions on every layer, how those decisions are approved before they executed, right? And of course, we need to consider that enterprises are usually companies that have a very diverse set of goods and products that they deliver. For instance, Amazon started as just a bookstore, and now it delivers quite a lot of different services that we couldn't even think about 20 years ago, like cloud solutions, different devices that they manufacture by themselves, etc., etc. Very distinguishable feature of enterprises nowadays is the robustness of resources, and that is why it's really interesting for quite a lot of vendors and suppliers to work with enterprises, and that's of interest for our service company, Espro, as well, because even in hard times, they are still like leaders in their markets, and they can handle like slowdowns on the markets, hard times, just because they have significant impact, they have a lot of clients, they have resources accumulated in different companies, other assets, and that makes them super robust and strong to handle hard times and challenges. So that's what we can say about enterprises. So why enterprises and AI? As you might know, enterprises are really hard because of those of all the issues and aspects to consider on the previous slides. They're really hard to move to some innovative approaches and technologies. So if we talk about cloud solutions and software as a service, which is really popular for startups just because it makes them very robust and they can outsource some of the components, including AI, that otherwise they would develop for a couple of months at least. With software as a service solutions, they can just buy it and use it at least for the first iterations of their products. So with enterprise, it's much harder just because of regulatory compliance and other measures. And anyways, according to latest reports, so by the way, the presentation that I'm currently sharing will be shared with you after. So you will have access to all the links, all the resources mentioned here. So yeah, we'll do another email after the webinar. So according even to some articles written in 2023, it is expected that 75% of enterprises will migrate eventually to cloud from on-prem deployments, which is really hard for them to do. But again, there is a great hype around Gen AI, and we understand that probably it's kind of easy, right, to test ChatGPT or other LLM provider, maybe to create some sort of chatbot integration which doesn't really affect the very heart of your system, right? So it can be some superficial component, but again, it will have some impact on your users, will bring some value to them. But again, if we want to get some transformative effect and build like AI to better understand relations inside the system, to, let's say, analyze the organizational structure of the system, how each department communicates with each other, what kind of insights, what kind of suggestions we can make to make the process more efficient. It means that the whole infrastructure, the whole architecture of the system probably should be revisited, considering that many enterprises were established like 30 years ago, maybe even earlier. And that is why it's really hard to do this transition to inject AI into all components without doing some refactoring, without reorganizing the system to perform in a more efficient way. So that is why many believe that Gen AI will have a very vital impact on enterprises to eventually move to the cloud and to move to more modern solutions that actually allow it to integrate with AI features that will make them more efficient in the end of the day. And of course, a lot of people, a lot of companies are already taking that into account. There are quite a lot of different data management solutions that are offered, and for enterprise segment as well. And the market is growing. The market will continue to grow in the future. That's the forecast. And also, I wanted to mention that even though AI is really common in industries like social, online games, fintech as well, there are some domains that are subject to some regulatory measures, again, like governance, compliance, cybersecurity. So you might know about different GRC providers that allow companies to become compliant with various security, data privacy standards. So it's only the case that they started to really consider AI and Gen AI last year as a part of their offering, a part of their products. And the potential for AI in those segments is huge, just because to enter, let's say, a compliance domain for regular project manager, it's really hard because you need to really understand the domain. You need to probably do some educational course to understand what's the structure of the standard, what are the requirements, how to approach compliance, how to execute the preparational work for compliance and stuff like that. And probably that's something that AI and AI copilots in particular can help people to reduce this boundary and make this process more seamless for many people who are not really deep into the industry. So the pyramid of needs for AI. So everything starts from data. As we have discussed a couple of slides ago, without data, you can't build any kind of algorithms. We're not talking even about AI models and machine learning neural networks and stuff like that. Even if you want to build an algorithm based on heuristics, you still need some data to test your assumptions, to craft those heuristics, and to do some validation. That is why if we talk about adoption of AI for any company, we first need to establish reliable data sources, implement a pipeline that allows you to ingest the data from the data sources that you need into one place, provide a reliable way to engineer features, to preprocess the data, to fix all the inconsistencies that we have in the data, like missing fields, maybe some outliers that need to be removed from your system, to just not to spoil the results of your analytics and stuff like that. Then we do data intelligence, which might incorporate some basic dashboards with some distributions that provide some understanding for the data? Is there any kind of shift that happens on a constant basis, and maybe there is some seasonality in your data that you need to take into account when doing your decision making. Then we have business intelligence that provides more metrics to the same dashboards, but they are more related to the needs of businesses, like to cover certain business metrics of the website, to be able to communicate those metrics to your stakeholders, and that's super important. Then we do data science, which involves building some algorithms, more sophisticated data analysis that might include methods like clustering, segmentation, maybe basic classification using some available solutions without really customizing them. Then we do AI deployment, which is the stage where the business really understands that they need something custom, which goes beyond analytics and just some offline analysis of your data in, let's say, Google Colab or Jupyter Notebook. And that's the place where some research needs to be made in terms of available open source solutions or maybe commercial solutions that fit your problem. And then you have a team who can adopt those solutions, maybe tune them for a specific need that you have, and deploy it as a service to power some of the decision making, maybe some insights for your users, for your website, platform, etc., etc. And then we have the thing that quite a lot of products and companies don't really reach to, is AI observability, which is actually a set of different metrics, policies, and ways to make AI impact better and better over time. So, as you probably know, it's not always the case that like we deploy some AI model and it satisfies the needs of our businesses for 100%, and like we close the project, we leave it running in production, let's say for 10 years, and we don't need to do anything else. It's not the case. AI, I think, is a synonym to something that is iterative, and that is why always after the deployment of your model, you need to do analysis of different metrics of how the user experience is changed after the new version of the model was rolled out. Preferably even without doing release, you need to beforehand do some A/B test to analyze to do the comparative analysis with the previous version in terms of how it performs, how it really handles the interests of different segments of your users. So we won't really talk about A/B tests a lot in this webinar, but it's something that also highlights the proficiency and the expertise of the company who runs AI and data science. But in terms of observability, of course, there are quite a lot of different online metrics that we can track for AI, including precision, recall. If we talk about ranking, it could be some metrics that are crafted specifically for the engagement and the relevancy of search results in your search system or in the recommender system that you have. So it's actually a set of different signals that we need to take into account when having AI up and running in production. So why the data is valuable here? The data is a very important component of enterprises and also is a huge challenge for them nowadays, just because majority of enterprise systems, they rely either on custom but super obsolete systems like ERP solutions, maybe some databases that is really hard to update, that is really hard to onboard new people into the process of their management and updates, maintenance, etc., etc. And it takes a huge amount of money to maintain such projects. So according to recent reports, you see those numbers on the slide. Uh, even if we talk about the maintenance of each line of the code, it costs more than $3.5 per line of code, according to recent surveys, which is huge. And the same applies to data as well. So considering that data cannot exist by itself and we need pipelines, we need some sort of mechanisms to extract the data, to process it, to pass it to analytics. It also means that those components are really prone to being obsolete, being outdated, and being really hard to manage by modern engineering teams. And of course, we all know about the curse of spreadsheets. So that's something that many companies still use for the management of their internal processes. And in our experience, that's usually one of the main and most popular cases which new clients bring us when they want to really escape this hell of various spreadsheets scattered across different Google Drives, maybe even saved locally as Excel sheets. And so the first thing that such companies need to do is actually rewrite and re-implement the whole workflow and actually educate their team to use some centralized data management platform that would allow them to automatically ingest the data from various data sources that they have, to enter the system that they need to enter manually into the system via some unified entry point, and to be able to access the data in those systems and to work with analytics related to the data owned by the platform, also in a single standardized way. And my argument, the last argument for the slide, is that it's really hard to migrate from old solutions, because if the company is influential, big in terms of the size, in terms of number of different problems that they handle, it's pretty hard to just switch to a completely new approach. That is why it should also be considered in the training and awareness process for the employees. So how to approach all those problems? So first of all, there are quite a lot of solutions on the market that provide a very reliable and scalable way to manage your data. And I'm talking here about data lakes and data warehouses, which are main cases for companies to store and use to process the data later on. And of course, there are ETL pipelines such as Airflow. There are commercial tools like Databricks, Snowflake, some other providers as well, that allow you to have both the executor engine, like those jobs that organize the processing and ingestion of the data, and also retrieval of the data and adaptation of the data according to your specific needs in one single place, which is really, really important. And according to the market as well, data warehousing is becoming more and more popular. There are more and more different providers that start to sell and offer their services related to data warehousing, and the market is continuing to grow. That is why I think it's definitely inevitable that at some point in time, majority of companies anyway will move to standardized way to handle their data. The painful thing in the question related to data is data governance, and that's usually related to compliance as well. So the part of data governance is related to policies and procedures that define a clear and defined way on how your employees work with the data, what they can do, what they cannot do, and what are the guardrails and controls, how to ensure that's the case in your organization. And also to be able to clearly define what are the permissions, what is the ownership for each component related to your data, and not only data, but maybe other components of your platform. So there are quite a few well-known services and platforms that provide such solutions. And for our clients, they are currently also considering, quite many of them, the potential of adding data governance into their processes. And of course, to make it more efficient, we also cannot just, deploy some solution and assume that it will work efficiently. We need to know for sure that our employees really know how to use them, what is expected from them, and how they can make the most of their work time, and how they can be as efficient as possible in terms of their responsibilities and duties. And also it's expected that the on-prem market will continue to shrink. From 59 to 38%, it was the estimate for 2020. So I think currently we're really close to something like 10 or 15%, because even though there are some regulatory and compliance aspects that we need to consider, and some of the companies cannot really run cloud solutions and have their systems completely deployed in the cloud because of privacy and some other aspects. Anyways, it's anyway good to consider more scalable and efficient solutions, at least for some part of the system that is not that kind of critical and is not a subject for all those standards and compliance measures. Then let's talk about Gen AI. So currently what we see on the market is the very rapid growth of Gen AI and adoption of it in various sectors. We can see how new MVPs built on top of ChatGPT emerge in a couple of months. They are getting investments not even roughly comparable to products in other industries. And also we can see how Gen AI affects the productivity of engineering teams. And wanted to share with you a report that was recently created by GitHub based on the usage of their Copilot, GitHub Copilot Assistant for writing code. So based on their analysis that they did on the group of engineers working on different projects, the reduction of time that was achieved with development that incorporates GitHub Copilot in the process results in more than 2 times reduction of development time, which is great. But again, there are other concerns. So one of the other metrics that they measured was the code, something that they call code churn rate, which is the number of lines that are updated and modified in the project within the interval of 2 weeks. And that actually describes the issue related to bugs, some problems discovered with the code. So that's usually the case for some parts of the code to be updated. And of course, I describe it in a very simple sort of way, but there is this metric called churn rate, and they observed that code churn rate rose by almost 30%, just because they assume that even though AI speeds up development, anyways, because developers now rely on AI to handle different things like writing probably some business logic, developers might not always be that kind of um, uh, very concentrated on all the things that AI implement, and that is why they might miss some bugs. And that is why, even though we really see the impact of AI as like the thing that can speed up the development, also the concerning trend is that developers are less uh, engaged with the code they write. That's at least something that was observed in the study. Also, I'm really excited to see how the products that either would took like years to implement in, let's say, 2021 and early 2022 now are really feasible, because we all know about like features that ChatGPT and other LLM models can handle. Maybe not that efficiently as custom solutions would do, but at least for the stage of POC, proof of concept, or early MVP, maybe the need of just make it dirty but allow users to provide you feedback is enough to use those solutions. And that makes the development of various use cases like chatbots, copilots, Q&A systems, some recommender engines even, much easier than it was before. And of course, I forgot to mention retrieval engines using embeddings from LLMs to be able to find semantically similar documents, images, etc., etc. So it really allows you to really quickly and more or less efficiently implement first versions of your products and then iterate on the quality, either by tuning those solutions or just by replacing them with completely custom solutions, but which will be based and tuned on the data that you received previously from real users. Also, we already can see how AI changes and transforms the computer vision and Gen AI with respect to how we can produce images and even videos. So I mentioned here that videos is still like something for AI to achieve in terms of beating the performance of a human, but we definitely see products like Sora from OpenAI that was recently introduced. We see other models, for instance, introduced by Stability AI and other companies. And it means that we are on the right track, and probably it will take another year, maybe even less, to have something that can be adopted for a huge audience and that can be leveraged in various parts of different businesses. So the same applies to audio. We see models from Meta like Music Gen. We see stable music from Stability AI, and other cases that show that abundance of data really makes the difference for AI and allows it to have this significant boost. How it was with ImageNet for computer vision early in like almost 10 years ago, even more, right? And we see that it was the case with large language models, and we now see that leveraging huge amount of videos, audio records allow to reach out outstanding results, which is really great. Let's move forward. So yeah, in terms of AI and LLMs in particular, you probably know about RAG, so retrieval augmented generation. That's one of the key things that actually allowed to leverage ChatGPT for chatbots and allowed it to solve the problem of retrieving um even small parts of documents from the large knowledge bases and to be able to precisely answer questions about very, very specific topics for various businesses. So it just connects AI with your data source by using the thing that is called embedding. When we create a vector representation for pieces of documents from the knowledge base, and this way create a representation of the data that our AI core LLM understands and can use for retrieval and understand which piece of the data is more relevant to the user query and which one is less. So that's the crucial component that actually allowed Gen AI and LLMs to scale in the way that it did in the last couple of years. Then yeah, that's future, that's current state. So also wanted to mention that almost all the companies now and almost all the individuals are aware of all the advancements of AI and Gen AI in particular, but not all of them really understand what it means about privacy and security of using those systems. That is why person might really be willing, let's say, to connect some assistant to analyze their meetings, to provide some insights on how to optimize their daily routine, on how to plan the future activities, right? But they do not really understand usually like how their data is being processed, and that they didn't really give any consent to the provider of those services to operate with the data in a way they do. And we'll bring this topic up on the further slides, but again, you definitely need to be aware of the policy and terms and conditions of the services and models that you're using. That is why quite a lot of companies like Google and Meta are creating model cards, which is like sort of a banner with different sorts of information and findings about the model that they got during the research and development, that allows you to understand whether you can leverage it for your business, considering the data it was trained, considering some biases that it might have with respect to different user types or different objects that are used as the input for those models. So it's super important. And now about the future. So those of you who have seen the latest Gemini chatbot or GPT-4V from OpenAI are probably amazed about the quality of combined results based on the textual input and images, right? So it was really transformative in terms of how they allow it to provide images as a context and ask questions about those images, maybe provide a screenshot of some document, and then ask questions about those documents for AI. And it really opens the potential for general assistance that can be deployed on various devices, including mobile devices. And maybe in the future we'll have something that is able to record audio, that is able to record video, and that can speak to us via regular text-to-speech engine, and that can process audio via speech-to-text. And it will be all done within one system that have this multimodal generative AI within, which is really great. There are quite a lot of different technical limitations, and not only technical limitations that are on the way, but I think that we are on the right track. Responsible AI. You are probably familiar with recent acts that were already approved in the US and in the European Union, which highlights some of the main risks and classification categories for AI products. And even though currently it's still like in its very nascence, many believe that it will be the case that in a year or two, all the new products, all the new companies that work with data, that work on AI development, if they want to offer their goods and services on the market, and like specifically on the markets related to Europe and United States, they will need to be compliant with a list of different measures, and they will be categorized according to like very specific criteria defined by governments, and otherwise they won't be competitive on evolved markets. There are some concerns about the fact that there is other part of the world that is not really that kind of rapid with the development of such policies, and I'm talking about Africa, China, Latin America, and it means that they will have an opportunity to maybe develop their solutions and products in a less organized way, less structured way, but there will be maybe some sort of competitive advantage for them to do it faster, just because they won't be bound to some bureaucratic procedures on every step. So that's something that is being discussed currently, but again, from discussions with my colleagues and the network of AI experts, there are already some talks how to be prepared for the actual decisions that will be fired by European Union and White House to at least start preparation for becoming compliant with all those acts. Then about Gen AI, we definitely can see that there are more and more providers of LLMs, other generative models, and also I'm really happy to see that there are quite a lot of open source fuss going around, and there are quite a lot of models being introduced not only by large companies like Meta and Google, for which it's a question of reputation and their trustworthiness on the market. Maybe like one release of the open source model is better than like 10 articles about the systems and 10 papers that they showcase about their proprietary services that they are not willing to share with the world. But we also see companies like Mistral releasing state-of-the-art large language models that are really popular currently across the community. And there are quite a lot of different use cases where Mistral and Mixtral models prove to be very efficient, and quite a lot of my colleagues and we are also trying Mixtral among other models for deployments with Gen AI features. Also, it's important to say that AI scaled not only in terms of the performance and the quality of results, but also in terms of the size of those models. And state-of-the-art models like GPT-4, like Claude V3 from Anthropic. They are huge LLMs with billions of parameters, and you cannot really deploy such models on the regular infrastructure, on the regular GPU. You need sophisticated cluster of infrastructure with GPUs, with TPUs, whatever you want, whatever makes sense for your particular use case. But it's really hard to go on end devices. But according to another trend that we can see on the market, there is also a movement to compress those models and optimize them as much as possible to reduce the size of the models and make them deployable on even devices like mobile phones, regular laptops, and stuff like that. So here I'm sharing the result of one of the latest papers from Microsoft, which is BitNet, which is also an LLM with a similar architecture to Llama from Meta. But what they decided to do, instead of using regular parameters as a floating point numbers, they decided to quantize those parameters to only three possible values: -1, 0, and 1. That is why it's called BitNet. And undoubtedly, if we do this kind of compression, it allows to dramatically shrink the model, of course, by sacrificing the quality in certain sense. But again, this approach will likely allow us to see LLMs deployed on mobile devices, on laptops, and maybe even on TVs, smartwatches, if it's possible and if it makes sense for certain applications. So it's really cool. And LLM ops. So we all know about DevOps. It was really popular, like for the last 5 years, to talk about MLOps, which is almost the same as DevOps, but it's more related to how operations are handled for machine learning workflows. And that's data, that's model training, that's deployment, and that's also the way the observability of ML and AI established in the way we collect metrics, how we process them, how we do updates, how we generate reports for our stakeholders based on all the information that we receive, etc., etc. But LLM Ops is something more specific to Gen AI, and that's something that is already on the market as a job opportunity and as a position. And if you open LinkedIn, if you open various platforms for freelancers, you already see that there is a huge inquiry for LLM Ops. For me, it's something that is still being defined, just because quite a lot of companies, including Databricks that prepared the diagram that I'm currently showing on the slide, integrated quite a lot of responsibilities into this job, which is prompt engineering, evaluation of results, selecting LLMs. So to me, it sounds like more like a ML engineer who works specifically on Gen AI and AI applications. So it's a guy who can handle the whole life cycle, starting from ideation with the client, understanding what are the requirements, how to transform them into the right selection of tools, and LLMs in particular, if we talk about language-related problems. Does the prompt engineering, evaluates results, suggests improvements, knows how to properly compare different models, deploy them in the efficient and cost-efficient way as well, and do fine-tuning. So there is a lot on the plate. I haven't seen people who can handle everything from the list so far in my career. Maybe I will see some, but again, I think it would be really great to have a team of people with such expertise, just because if you have such guys, you don't need to have your responsibilities scattered across different people. You have, let's say, a team of full stack engineers, but for Gen AI development specifically. So we'll see where it goes, but that's the trend. So now we have a couple more slides left, and I wanted to share some of the cases that we have at S-Pro. So one of our partners is called Compliance Spector, and it's a very bright case of AI in compliance domain. So Compliance Spector is a very popular GRC compliance solution in the European market. And they allow companies to manage their documents with respect to compliance, evaluate risks, and prepare for certification for different standards, including GDPR, various ISO-related standards, IT Grundschutz, which is specifically for the German market, and many others. So before our partnership, Compliance Spector had a very simple chatbot that was built on top of the existing solution, which was more of a rule-based system, not end-to-end AI chatbot with semantic capabilities and stuff like that. So when we started our collaboration, we did a series of design sessions with them. We understood what are the internals of the system with respect to how different components integrate with each other, what kind of data the platform possesses about the users, and we developed a new version, brand new version of the chatbot. We call it even Copilot, because it's much more integrated into the platform than just the chatbot, whom you can ask questions. So what the Copilot allows to do, it processes all the data, all the documents uploaded by managers of the ISMS of the company. It associates those documents with particular standard requirements, standard of interest, and then it allows to have some insights about how prepared you are in the context of each particular requirement, what are the missing components that you need to implement. And when it is the case, AI also allows to formulate very specific tasks. And we have integration with Jira, which allows you to just automatically create tasks for your DevOps, for other teams to implement and to track the implementation in order to just close those gaps for each part of the standard. And also, we are currently working on a new version of the system, which is even more sophisticated. So it's also a Q&A feature that allows to get some insights from the knowledge base of the user, ask about how the processes can be improved, who are the main stakeholders and what are the meetings, maybe some other activities that should be scheduled to address some of the challenges for your system, etc., etc. We have a link to the case studies, to this case study, which leads to our website. And we have much more details there, which describes all the technical challenges and all the product challenges that we faced during the development. But again, we really like this project just because it's not a regular AI application. And the case, to me personally and to many other stakeholders in our company, seems very, very valuable in terms of like our needs as a company, but also for the clients of Compliance Spector as well. Then we have Travel Plan Booker. That's another AI engine that we developed last year. AI Travel Plan Booker is a platform that allows you to efficiently and very quickly plan your vacation or any other kinds of trips in a very simple way. So you just specify your destination, then the system is smart enough to retrieve some relevant booking opportunities for you in terms of the apartment, in terms of the car rental services that you can leverage. Also, you can have a list of museums, art galleries, restaurants, some other places that might be interesting for you to visit based on your profile and based on your personal details provided for the platform. But before we developed AI, it was more or less rule-based. So there were certain rules implemented in the core of the backend that allow it to route specific trips to certain sets of locations and services. But what the client wanted to have is something more general, which is really similar to ChatGPT, but crafted for the travel domain and having integration with the platform to provide a list of bookings, be able to schedule the trip for yourself and to book the trip. So the input to the system is something very, very abstract, like a query. Let's say I want to go to Western Europe for 2 weeks with my friends. We have a goal to visit as much historical places as possible, but we also want to visit some nice restaurants. And that's the input for AI. So AI after that creates a daily schedule, and within a daily schedule it also plans different locations for you to visit. It provides you some suggestions on how to efficiently and properly spend time there, what to do, like where to go, what are the things to pay attention to, etc., etc. And it's not just text. These are all records from the client's API, from the client's database. And so it means that after you engage with the chatbot and get some result, that you can refine in a similar way how you do it in ChatGPT chat. You can click book, and after this you will have an order which will actually cover the whole trip, all the aspects related to booking, car rentals, and tickets that you need to buy. So we also did this sort of a copilot last year. It's currently up and running. We also have a more detailed case study written on our case website. So if you're interested, please take a look at it, or just feel free to ping me in LinkedIn or in other social networks. I'm always ready to have a chat with you and discuss your goals and your challenges. So yeah, we'll be happy to have a discussion with you guys in the future. Also on our website we have recent reports on AI and analysis on the market, how AI changed different segments of the market, including enterprises as well. So if you haven't done so yet, please go to the website and download our report. It's free, and there are quite a lot of recent numbers from the web and some thoughts that we have on our minds at Espro. And the last thing that I wanted to share with you is that for all participants of today's webinar, we offer a completely free consulting session with me. So all you need to do to talk with us and with me in particular about your AI challenges, about your AI questions, you just need to respond to the email that you received from Espro before the webinar. So if you have anything of interest that you want to discuss, just let us know, and please write us and we'll get in touch with you. That's it for today in terms of the webinar. Now it's time for us to have a small Q&A session. If you have any questions, please let us know either on Facebook or on LinkedIn or in YouTube. So let's see if we have any questions. Okay, I'm looking into YouTube chat now. If you guys have any questions, just let us know. Okay, so the first question. How do you foresee the role of Gen AI in transforming traditional businesses in the next 5 years? So that's a very good question, and I'm personally really interested in the energy domain, and we have quite a lot of various inquiries from our clients to build various modeling and engines and some simulation mechanisms for the grid in particular, to do some data analysis on the grid data to understand what are the weak spots, how to stabilize the grid, how to make it more reliable, how to properly introduce new facilities to the grid, how to make your renewable projects more cost efficient and more valuable in terms of the service that they provide. So I think there is something still to be achieved in this field. That is why I'm also personally interested in this, and I'm taking quite a lot of different workshops and having a lot of discussion with people from the industry on how to more efficiently do that. So that's thing number one. Also, I'm really interested in AI in education. So we already see how students spend less time and become more efficient with their educational routine, right? By preparing homeworks, by preparing reports and talks for their classes, but we haven't yet seen efficient applications of Gen AI for the educational process from the perspective of teachers and the school and university staff. So I believe that it's on the way, and something like this will likely happen in the next month or at least in next year. And I've already seen some projects that are targeting this, and of course there are quite a lot of edtech companies that are already on the market and that are currently trying to adjust their business model to take into account the things that we're currently discussing. So these are two main things that I wanted to mention. What else? What else? Waiting for new questions. We have a question from where to start if we want to build AI capabilities in a big company with a lot of legacy systems and processes. So first of all, you need to really understand what is your goal that AI can solve. And for this, you need to have a series of sessions with your stakeholders that would really define their pain points, and you sort of do some kind of design thinking activity, right? So you need to understand what is the most painful for your businesses and how AI specifically can address those challenges. After you understand how AI can transform or change your workflow to a more efficient way, then probably you can do the audit and research of your current system, of your infrastructure, of various components that are currently deployed and that are active in the system, and define the set of action items that you need to do to integrate AI with the existing system or change some components if it's needed. And here it completely depends on the use case, so depending on the depth of the integration, depending on the number of components that are affected, you will likely have different architectural solution, you will likely have different ways to evaluate the result. So just to summarize it, first you start with the clarification stage, where you just get as many inputs and insights from the stakeholders. Then you do some ideation, like understand what are the main applications that can handle those pain points. Then you do the actual development, which can be a POC, so you just try to simulate how AI would behave in various cases according to your task. And then according to the design of the new system that you develop with solution architect, with a business analyst, you can plan the MVP and test the system in the real world. Let's do another one. I'm looking for a way to store customer data and having the AI craft relevant outputs without being charged for the input and output, since it would become expensive with the amount of customer data. So as far as I understand, I wonder if there is a cost-effective option for this. Yeah, that's a good question, and that's something that our clients usually come to us. And ChatGPT, if we talk about Gen AI, is probably a very efficient tool for experimentation and POC, where we just want to, seize the potential of AI for our problem, and we won't really pay a lot for the API usage like this, just because we'll have only a couple of developers, maybe a couple of stakeholders, and that's it. But when we roll out an MVP, and let's say we start to have thousands, maybe tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of users, it's super inefficient to rely on external APIs like OpenAI, other LLM providers. It doesn't really matter, because you pay on demand for each request, and so it means that you can't really control the operational costs. So depending on the number of users, depending on their activity on the platform, you will pay as much as possible, literally. And so what our clients usually are interested at is the custom deployment of custom large language models. And what we offer to them is that we usually start the ideation and POC, some experimentation using ChatGPT, just to save time and not to go to tasks related to LLM ops, to serve those models and to maintain them in the actual infrastructure. But when we go to MVP and we see that the number of users is growing, we switch to the custom model, either just pre-trained open source model or a model tuned on some specific data set provided by the client or that we can find on the web. And in this way, you can limit the costs related to interaction with AI, so you'll just pay for the infrastructure itself. So of course you will need to scale the infrastructure as well. If you have one instance of the model, let's say for some abstract problem, you will be able to, let's say, serve 5,000 users, or maybe more, depending on your problem. But if you want to serve more, you need to deploy another one, and you have like an auto-scaling group that probably can scale depending on the number of requests. But again, for the large scale, it will be more efficient to have your own deployment, just because you can anyway limit and control the costs for AI serving and usage. So that's my question. If you have quite a lot of users, you definitely need to consider open source solutions on open source LLMs like Mixtral, like Llama, which allow commercial usage. They might be not efficient for very sophisticated problems. So if you want to solve something that only GPT-4 solves, I think it will be really hard to do that and even to tune a model like Mixtral for your task. But again, if it's something simpler, it's possible. But I've seen guys who use OpenAI in production as well. They do have some concerns about costs too, but currently they haven't found any open source models that are close in terms of quality to what they need. Yeah, thank you for the question. And yeah, in terms of the deployment, one thing that I wanted to add is that you can, of course, deploy the model by yourself using like a standard infrastructure like AWS EC2 instances or Azure instances or Google Cloud. But you will likely spend quite a lot of time to configure it, to make it scalable. And therefore, I would suggest looking into some platforms that already provide such capabilities. And first of all, it's Hugging Face inference endpoints. So it's very intuitive and very useful service that allows to just take a model from existing Hugging Face space and deploy it to different types of instances, even compress the model if it's needed, scale it up, scale it down, depending on the load that you have. The more sophisticated and complex solution is AWS Bedrock, which is a new LLMs and also GenAI abstractly related, and allows you to serve open source models. It allows you to fine-tune them. It allows you to also optimize them for different workflows. So yeah, definitely take a look at them. Let's do a couple of other questions. Do you have examples of data decision system used at the CEO level? Well, you know, it's a very interesting topic, and I've seen a couple of startups recently that I cannot really announce because they're still in a stealth mode. But if you have seen Google Duet, DUET, a couple of months ago, they have introduced a very similar functionality to what I suppose you are talking about, which is helping to automate the role of CEO assistant. So it basically takes into account all your documentation, it takes into account all the meetings, your calendar, and allows you to more efficiently plan your activities and like have some suggestions on how to optimize your daily work. I have some doubts still that even with Gen AI and with LLMs, there won't be a need for a manual intrusion into this process, because from what I see on my CTO level role and what I see from my friend CEO at Espro, is that anyways it's super subjective from time to time. So AI won't really be able to handle all the intricacies with respect on how to interact with different stakeholders, what you need to do for each of them, because with each of the stakeholders, you probably have some specific ways to communicate, collaborate, to validate their results. And maybe there will be a point in time when AI will be able to handle that in a very personalized and precise way. However, I haven't seen tools like that. Even Google Duet, from what I see, is more like a insights analytics tool rather than something that can just be used as an automation for CEO. So hopefully that answers the question. Do we have anything else? Is it easy, and what is the financial cost of designing a service platform for connecting people according to their personal and professional affinities with AI? That sounds super interesting. I would love to discuss in more details the problem that is of interest for you. I think to understand the exact cost and how the design will look like, we need to really discuss what are the main constraints, what are the main requirements. Don't want to be like super and abstractly general here, but again, I think we need more inputs to understand what is needed to be done, what is the context of the current platform, if there is any, where we need to integrate this solution. But yeah, from your problem statement, I acknowledge that it's something that is kind of popular on the market, and we've also seen similar asks from our clients too. So if you're interested at discussing this topic, just feel free to respond to the email and we can plan a session or shorter discussion of the product. Please let us know if there are any other questions that you have. Otherwise, I think we are really close to the end of today's webinar. I can't see any other questions, so thank you guys again for being part of this webinar. Hopefully it was useful. Hopefully I wasn't too technical or otherwise too abstract at some parts of it. And hopefully we'll see you soon at some of our future opportunities. And again, if you have any specific inquiries about AI, some challenges, please let us know. So thank you again, and have a great time of the day. Bye.